had turned life upside down in all sorts of ways, had caused lots of hurt. It had broken friendships. It had done all kinds of things that I couldn't fix. And so the temptation to be very harsh with myself was strong. But I realized that that would lead me straight back into the hospital, or worse, that there was really only one direction that was taking me. And so although it was completely counterintuitive, what I had to learn was extreme kindness and love, actually, because beating yourself up does not fix anything at all.
Right.
And learning to treat yourself with compassion and to understand that, we are all wonderfully, hilariously flawed. We all do such stupid things sometimes. We all make mistakes. We all get upset and angry and, kind of caught up in all sorts of things quite unnecessarily. And we go around causing havoc in the world quite innocently.
Yes.
And that to treat ourselves harshly for not being perfect and for being a bit silly isn't really an appropriate response. We need to learn how to treat ourselves a bit like we're a young pet or something.
Right.
Have a little bit of a giggle and just sort of nudge ourselves back in line rather than all of this shame and guilt and recrimination and criticism. And that's what I started learning, and that was what made the difference. But as I say, it was completely counterintuitive. It was the last thing I felt entitled to do.
Oh, I would imagine. I would just bet, and because it's so counterintuitive and it's the complete opposite end of that scale. So how were you introduced to, like, I have to be able to have extreme kindness and love and compassion for myself? Did you just discover that somehow? Or because I think we are always led to everything. And so I'm curious how you came about this counterintuitive way of treating yourself, because obviously this was the path where all of your healing began and where all of these beautiful things have sprung from since 2016, and probably all of your childhood, all of your life, all of this beautiful stuff is springing forward. But this was a big catalyst in 2016. So where did that come from, that counterintuitiveness where you knew I needed to do this differently?
Well, it's a funny thing.
Good.
It's a funny thing that I can't quite explain, but I'll tell you what happened. So one day, about a month after I came out of the hospital, when I was feeling more hopeless and more ashamed than I'd ever felt in my whole life, I got up in the morning and by the time I got up and out of bed, I was already crying. And it had been the weekend of my son's birthday. And I'd spent the whole weekend trying to be happy and doing my very best to look happy on the outside, and just feeling more broken than I can ever remember feeling. I remember it hurt to breathe. I guess that sometimes happens with heartbreak and grief and things, but I felt so broken that even breathing, I can't quite explain it, but it was physically painful. And from moment to moment, I was just thinking, I don't know how to continue with this because it hurts so much. So I got up that day and I was crying, and I went to my desk and I went to my computer and I opened up a new document, a blank document, and I started typing. And I didn't know what I was typing and I didn't know why I was typing, but I read back what I'd written and it said, I'm going to help you get better.
Oh.
It said, I'm the coach and I'm going to help you get better. And what you have to do is you have to turn up every day for a year and write to me. And I was so amazed because I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
I just sat there. I mean, I stopped crying because I was too surprised to carry on crying.
Yeah.
I just sat there and looked at it, and I wondered, I thought, what am I doing? Who is this? And I started writing back, and I said, well, okay, what is this? What am I doing? What's happening here? And this other part of myself, whatever it was, said, you have to show up every single day and promise me that you won't hurt yourself. Show up every day for a year and write, and we will figure out how to get through this. Wow. Will you do it? And so I wrote yes, not really knowing what I was doing, but it began a conversation. And I seem to remember that the next thing that happened was this other part of me, this other voice said, right, well, why don't you go and make yourself a cup of tea and then come back? So I did. I made myself a cup of tea and I came back. And then we started writing, and I wrote every day, actually for 15 months. And then after the 15 months, I carried on the conversation in my head because I realized I didn't need to write anymore. But for the longest time, I didn't know what that was, what I'd experienced. I didn't know if I was channeling something. I didn't know if it was some kind of deeply spiritual experience. I had no idea what was going on, really. And the conclusion I came to was that actually it was a way for me to get through to another part of myself, a part of myself that was much more compassionate, that was much wiser, the part of myself that would show up and would be nice to a friend if a friend was in distress, that knew the right thing to say. I was able to talk to myself from that place, but I'd never been able to do that before. And it was like making, I mean, it sounds like such a cliche, but it was like making friends with yourself. And that's what I did. I found a friend on the inside at a time when I'd kind of stretched my friendships in the outside world to breaking point, and I felt very alone. And somehow I managed to access a source of friendship and compassion and love that was within me that I'd never known about before.
Oh my goodness. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I love so much that every single person has this part of themselves that is this kinder, much nicer, so much more compassionate, loving self, that we all have that. Do you agree with that or no?
I do. I honestly think that on the inside, we have absolute access to wisdom and love and kindness and all of those things. It's just that sometimes we don't know how to reach it, but I have no doubt that it's there.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so what I want to talk to you about next is about how is it that you help people to reach that part of them, because I know that's part of the work that you do. The cards, your program, your coaching, we have so many things to talk about. And I want to swing back to even being young at 12 years old when you were having breakdowns and missing school. I want to even swing back with that. So Katie, as it is, we always run out of time because it seems like it's 5 minutes, and my gosh, almost half an hour has gone by. It's crazy to me how time just whips on these. So, would you be willing to come back next week and continue this conversation where we can dive um, into more information about your programs and your cards and the little challenges and all of these things that you have done that are so helpful and beautiful for other people?
Oh, I'd love to. Yes.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. So, as I am wrapping this one up, I think that you have some kind of a special gift that you would like to offer to the listeners. Am I right on that?
Yes, that's right. Yes, I wrote a little booklet called An A to Z of Resilience, and it's some of the lessons that I've been learning about how to be a bit more resilient and a bit healthier and happier in life. So I've written that, and I'd love to give you a copy of that, and you can find that at my website.
Okay, awesome, fantastic. And your website is, and just so the listeners know, this will be in the show notes. So please don't worry about trying to write this down. If you're driving, it will be in the show notes. So your website is what, Katie?
So it's littlechallenges.com. And if you go to littlechallenges.com/dare, you'll find a special page just for listeners to your podcast.
Oh, that is so sweet. And did you say dare, D-A-R-E?
Yes.
Oh, I just love it. Oh my God, my heart is just like on the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, when his heart grew like 7 sizes too big. My heart is just like, I don't know, 17 sizes too big. It's all these tears are rolling up in my eyes. And I just, oh man, I'm so grateful you're here. I mean, on this call with me, but I'm so grateful you're here on this planet, because your story is powerful and it's precious and it's healing for so many people. So I look forward to carrying on this conversation so people can know where you're at and what is going on with your beautiful life now and how it is that you're able to help other people. And so I'm going to sign off and tell you thank you so much for being with us this week, Katie, because I'm so excited to get into next week and talk about all the beautiful things that are going on.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you are so welcome. Thank you. And for all of the listeners, please be sure to join in on next week with part 2 with Katie, because what she has done with her life is just so fabulous and beautiful and warm and cuddly, and it just feels so good being in her space. I was in your website a lot for the last few days, and it just feels so good in there, Katie. So again, thank you so very much. And listeners, please come back next week to hear part 2 of Katie's beautiful life and what it is she's doing, offering to the world, and how she's showing up to help others live a much better life. Thank you so much, Katie. So much love to you.
Thank you, and to you.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Please go to nadahogan.com for show notes and other information you can use right away. If you like what you heard here, please subscribe to our show, and don't forget to rate and review right there on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your shows. And don't forget to tell your friends about it. We'll see you next week.